doctor. The doctor looked at the tracings, and then after 1 hour, they came back to me and said, Mr. Senator, we are canceling all tests. I said, why? Because we already know what's wrong with you. I said, what's wrong with me? You have blocked arteries, and you must undergo an emergency triple bypass, otherwise, you may die in 6 days to 6 months. I told them, where can I have my operation? Dito lang po, sa heart center. And that's the heart center of Imelda Marcos. And I asked, who can do the operation for me? The director said, ako lang po. There are 2 other assistants if you want, but I'm the only one performing in the center. He was the director of the heart center, handpicked also by Imelda. I said, Doctor, pagpaliban mo na ka ako. Thank you na lang. I said, if they cannot operate on me in America, please bring me to my cell. The truth is, I did not want them to touch me in Manila. And so there was a crisis. The Deputy Minister of Defense came to my room. He tried to talk me out of my decision. I said no. And so finally he said, are you willing to write a letter to Marcos requesting to be brought to America? I said yes. Eh siguro kang ganun, mas maganda kung mag-iwan ka ng 2 anak mo, parang maniwala na babalik ka. And so I wrote my letter to Mr. Marcos and made 2 covenants. That if I leave, I shall return. And 2, that while in America, I shall not speak out against his regime. And I also said, I will only bring 3 of my children with me. That's also true. But of course, the other 2 were already abroad. And then, my friends, that was a Wednesday, when I wrote that letter, all of a sudden, on Thursday morning, May 8th, my wife visited me early in the morning, and she told me, the hospital is crawling with Metrocom cars. Guards all over the place. Baka kami magbibisita sa'yo. Then all of a sudden, my guards started jumping, putting their barong Tagalog, hiding all of their guns. I said, tama, may darating na VIP. And then, lo and behold, the beautiful one ascended into my suite. She came, and she was really beautiful. She has not aged. There's a plane leaving at 6 o'clock. You can be in that plane. Very simply, Christian socialism means to me an equal opportunity for advancement and the full development of the human being. This means that the poorest person in the land must be given the equal opportunity for education. Number 2, the Christian socialist believes that the great legitimizer of government is the ballot, not the bullet. And therefore, because we believe in the ballot, we believe in a majority rule. So that if the majority should opt and should win in a contest, then the minority should accept the majority mandate. But we put a culatilla, that the majority, even if it wins, must respect minority rights. Number 3, we do not believe in the exploitation of man by man. Meaning, we do not believe in unbridled capitalism, where the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. In a developed country in America, you may have capitalism. But in a country like the Philippines, with very meager resources and a developing economy, we must harness our meager economy and maximize their benefit. And therefore, there should be centralized economic planning, and the government must actually give the direction as to prevent any overlap. Finally, I do not believe in the monopoly of basic industries. Why should one family monopolize one electric company in the Philippines? Or why should one family monopolize the ownership of one airline company in the Philippines? Or why should one company monopolize the telephone company in the Philippines? Since the government is funding all of this to begin with, these families are borrowing from government institutions and must depend on government guarantees. Then I say, let the government own them and let the people share in the profit. Christian socialism, therefore, is nothing more than democracy. Mr. Marcos is a human being, and Mr. Marcos has a conscience. I may even concede that in his own fashion he thinks he's doing right. It is therefore our duty and our obligation to enlighten him. It is our duty and our obligation to tell Mr. Marcos that maybe he is wrong. But definitely, Mr. Marcos is a human being, and I have not lost hope that we can still reach him in the recesses of his conscience. I've always said that Mr. Marcos is the original terrorist. He is right now employing state violence. But if we use violence against him, he will only justify the use of more violence against us. And since he's a more violent man, he has more forces of repression, we will be the loser. In other words, as Gandhi said, if he uses violence against you, do not give him a reason to justify his violence. Because if you're not violent, then before the bar of public opinion and before God, he's the only sinner. This struggle can only mean victory for all of us. It will mean victory because we are different from those that we oppose. Those that we oppose are happy with the material wealth. But for how long? I have written Mr. Marcos letters upon letters, and I told him, read your history, my friend. I have no hatred for you. I only have pity, because if you do not see and you do not remove the calluses from your eyes, if you do not remove your blinders, you will meet the same fate of all the dictators of history. What happened to Mao Zedong? His wife is now in jail. What happened to Peron? Isabelita is now in jail. What happened to Franco? He's now forgotten. What happened to the Shah? For all of the things that he did, the monuments to his greatness have already been torn down. There has never been a single dictator in history that has lived forever. And so I tell Mr. Marcos, study the lessons of history before it is too late. I am going back to the Philippines, and if I have to go back to jail, so be it. While it's true, Mr. Marcos, I said that after my 8 years in prison, I have lost appetite for office. I am no longer seeking the presidency of this land. I'm not seeking anymore any office in this country. But believe me, I said, when I tell you that while I have vowed never to enter the political arena again, I shall dedicate the last drop of my blood to the restoration of freedom and the dismantlement of your martial law.